Before I do the interview, I would like also to announce that today also in Twitter we have a campaign. So we would like everybody to join us. It will be in English. So the hashtag is Release Bahraini Prisoners. So we would like you all to join the campaign and demand the Bahraini government to release the prisoners in Bahrain. So anybody who speak English, who can write in English, who can tweet in English, please join us from now in Twitter. The hashtag is Release Bahraini Prisoners. I can tweet it or post it later in my Instagram. So I'm interviewing today Drawari Daik. Drawari Daik is a campaigner with Salam for Democracy and Human Rights, which is an organization based in London. Between 1999 and 2017, he was a researcher for Amnesty International. There he worked on Afghanistan, Iran, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. He also worked with the Saudi Arabia-focused Al-Qost organization. And thank you again for joining me.
Thank you again. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so let's start the question. So in the light of the international calls to release the Bahraini prisoners, including the international human rights organizations like the United Nations, OHCHR, what is Salam for Democracy comments on that?
Well, I'd like to, thanks, Said Youssef. I just want to take a step back for a second. I saw yesterday in The Economist magazine an article about Rikers Island prison. It's a prison in New York. And apparently the first prisoner there died on the 5th of April. And according to that article, the Economist article, there were 362 infections of a population of 3,974. So the rate, again, according to this article, was 6 times higher than the infection rates in New York City as a whole. And in addition to that, again, according to the Economist article yesterday, 6 prison staff have died. So I guess it just goes to show that prisons are a vector of infection. They are incubators of death or potential death in any case. Now, on the 23rd of March, the World Health Organization, as I recall, issued some guidelines. They talked about, for example, how the safety in enclosed environments are, of course, going to be, those people are going to be more vulnerable. And they said something like correctional facilities may amplify and enhance COVID-19 transmission. And I think, the evidence from New York bears that out. Now, as you said as well, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the UN body, talked about that physical distancing, which is what we've all been practicing, is incredibly difficult to achieve in a prison for obvious reasons. And they called expressly on states to look urgently to release prisoners and to find alternatives to detention. So that brings us to the situation in Bahrain. And I guess there's a couple different factors here. One, above all, that we think about all the time are the sort of the activists who have been put in prison. The peaceful activists, human rights activists, political activists, Nabil Rajab, Abdul Hadi Khwaja, Naji Fatih, Sheikh Ali Salman, Abdul Wahab Hussein, Hassan Mushaima, and so on. There's lots, actually very well-known individuals. We, Salam for Democracy and Human Rights, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, UN bodies themselves have repeatedly called for those individuals to be released immediately and unconditionally. There's kind of no argument about that. And it's a long-standing argument, obviously, that the Bahraini authorities have avoided. It's at a standstill. However, this new development that nobody saw coming of a virulent, highly contagious disease, coronavirus, in light of these calls, it seems to present new sets of challenges. You know, as I say, the evidence from New York and other places as well shows that you know, that prisoners there are obviously further at risk. The staff, you know, guards themselves, support staff, and so on. They're at a risk. So there's a public health dimension to this that needs to be considered. Now, Bahrain has already acknowledged that. Bahrain has already taken that into consideration. They have released you know, over 1,500 some odd individuals, including some people who were convicted of recognizable criminal offenses, who they released on these alternative punishment provisions, whereby there's some sort of non-custodial environment in which they can serve their sentence. And I guess, you know, to come full circle back to your question is, you know, what's our comment? Well, our comment, Salam for Democracy and Human Rights comment, I think, would be, this is an enormous opportunity for the government of Bahrain to make good not only on long-standing calls and appeals for the release of these long-standing prisoners, but they have an additional reason, an additional cause to release them, and that's for the public good. So in a sense, it's a win-win. It would be a win-win situation for the governments of Bahrain. And it's not so much an urge or not so much a call. It's really just a strong recommendation that I think many individuals in the government itself share, that you have an opportunity to make safe a community of individuals who are at higher risk, but in addition to that, other individuals, the guards, the support staff, and so on, who are government employees, that to make them safe as well. So I guess the suggestion to the governments of Bahrain and to the Bahraini authorities at large would be to say, look, think seriously about these international calls, about the World Health Organization calls. You know, we're so good at observing them in other ways, so why not this way as well? So I think that's the kind of the crux of it.